hello, I didn't see you there. Here I was, just fishing away, not noticing that you were all watching. Welcome folks, one and all, to the 7,000 video Q&A. A milestone that I never thought I'd ever reach when I started Let's Playing all those years ago. And was that a lot of years ago? Over 11 years. I never thought I'd reach any of the milestones I've ever reached, and I'm really happy to be still doing this 11 years after I started. And that's all because of you, all the people that watch and enjoy the videos that I do. But I'm here for a Q&A, aren't I? So let's get started with that. I had people submit questions to me, and I've roughly split them into 4 different categories. We're going to start with the first one, questions about Let's Playing. So let's begin. The first question is, what's your general process when recording videos? And is that a big question? So let's start from the very beginning. Presuming that I've done all of the general tests for a video, that is, making sure that I've got the resolution correct, the sound volumes correct, and that I'm able to compress it to a level that's acceptable to me, I then start the recording, which begins, as it does every morning, with me checking that everything is still correct, that I have all the sound volumes correct, that my microphone is being picked up, and that it will record properly. And then I start the recording process. I use a variety of software, though typically I like to use Fraps. I know, Fraps is pretty old, but it works quite well for me. And I just start recording. I don't separate out my various volumes. I have everything in one combined jumble volume. That is to say, I don't have a separate audio stream for myself that I then splice in later. It's all done live, and it's all done in one take. Or a few takes if something goes quite wrong, like an interruption, or something going really wrong with the recording process. That does happen sometimes. When that's done, I'll have 3 uncompressed videos that I will then edit. And by edit, I mean I will go through the entire thing, from the start to the finish, to find little things that I need to deal with. Minor audio problems, occasionally there are minor video problems, and if I have something like an interruption or the like that I need to get rid of, I'll get rid of them then. I use Virtual Dub primarily to deal with that, because I don't need to do a lot of editing. I know, a very old piece of software again, but it serves me quite well. It's through that I do my editing and my compression. My new computer allows me to do the compression a lot faster than I could with the previous computer. The difference is quite palpable. Once that's done, and it does take quite a while, it takes longer than the actual recording process most of the time, I will then put them away in my folder for my finished videos, depending upon what Let's Play it is. And then I'll schedule it for the correct day. I typically upload the video that goes up the next day. So today, the day I'm recording it being a Friday, I'll be uploading the videos for Saturday. And sometimes Sunday if I feel like I want to be thorough. I try my best not to upload videos too far in advance unless I'm going away. The general process is quite routine in some regards, but there are many little things that can go wrong. And when they do, it's not goodies. It's not that great. Especially when I think I've started the recording and I haven't. There's no way for me to check if the recording started, apart from when the game momentarily stutters when I press the record button. That is my only indicator. And if there's no clear way to see that, I have to hope that it's worked. Occasionally I've gone through a whole video, thought, ooh, that was great, and then I see that there's nothing in the recorded video folder, and I have to start all over again. The other thing that can go wrong is that Virtual Dub can sometimes crash, and when it does, I lose everything and have to start all over again with my editing. I don't lose the video in question, but I do lose all the progress I made in editing it. I also use Virtual Dub to splice bits of videos together if I need to, like when I do my Hearthstone videos and I have the intro and outro, like I do with the Dalaran Heist videos. I can just append the various bits together and be done with that. My setup is quite good in the sense that I don't get any audio desync in the things I record, but I do need to be a little bit careful as I need to make sure that everything is good to go before I start recording, as I don't have many ways to alter things afterwards. But as I said, it works for me. The second question is, how many hours a day do I dedicate to recording videos on average? That entirely depends on how well the recording goes. Ideally, I want the recording to be done as soon as possible, and that happens if everything goes perfectly. Also, don't mind the skull, I'm not actually in any trouble. That's just something from the augmented crystal fishing rod I'm using. Typically, I like to get all the videos I'm going to record in a day, which is usually 3, done in less than 2 hours, and I tend to start at around about 8 o'clock in the morning when I intend to record, so I'll be done with that at about 10 o'clock. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's till 11 o'clock that I'm recording, sometimes it's past 12. If things go really badly wrong, and they can go really badly wrong, be it through interruptions, errors with audio and video, or just me not having a great day when it comes to recording, I can sometimes be still trying to record at 1 in the afternoon. But presuming everything goes roughly okay, and I'm done at about 20 past 10. So I've been recording for 2 hours, 2 hours 20, then I'll start editing and compressing, a process that actually takes longer than the recording process, even when recording goes well. I'll typically be done with that at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If it's a more graphically intensive set of videos, I will have to spend longer doing that because the compression time takes longer. If it's not as graphically intensive, like say with Edna and Harvey that I'm currently doing, it will take less time to compress, which makes sense. Graphically less intensive games take less time to compress. And that's not including the time that we've got so far, which would be about 4 or 5 hours. That does not include the time that I have to spend writing up playlists, writing up video descriptions, uploading things, and also going through comments. I spend quite a while going through my stuff during the whole process. It's quite time intensive, but I'm very happy with the result that I get with each video. And that you're happy with the videos too makes me happy. If you had a random item word object noun generator, basically something entirely random as something you were put on the spot to talk about for an entire minute, could you do it and would you give an example? I've heard it's a skill Let's Players just develop over the years, to essentially talk about anything to fill in the white space in a video. Well, let's put that to a test, shall we? I will just set up a timer here and see if I can talk about something completely random for a whole minute. I've got the timer going, and I'm going to talk about the ocean. And there's one of those interruptions I was talking about before. Ah well, what can you do? 1 minute, 3, 2, 1, go. The ocean is exceptionally vast and has depths that we will never probably be able to fully explore. Even now we're discovering strange and peculiar species that will never normally see the light of day if we didn't bring them up to the surface. They can't really survive up on the surface either because the pressure is such down at the bottom of the ocean that it's pretty much engineered that those creatures can only live in those gloomy, forgotten places. Who knows what things may lie at the depths looking up at us? Terror from the Deep is a game that pretty much preys on that fear of the unknown in the ocean. The ocean can be quite a mine for horror stories and tales of grisly monsters writhing just beneath the water that you can't perceive. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll be living in the ocean, in deep underwater bases, hidden away from the light of the sun ourselves. And that was about a minute. Sometimes I can do that, sometimes I can't. It's just the nature of talking about things. Occasionally, your mind just goes, hey, I've got some great things I can talk about here. Other times, it just goes, nah, I've got nothing. Sorry. Can't talk about this. You're gonna have to give me more time. I think I could do that reasonably regularly, but it's best not to do it all the time because you can wear yourself out with being spontaneous. Best to save it for when you need it. What is my biggest hurdle recording? Well, that's an easy one. My biggest hurdle is myself. Quite often, the reason why a recording attempt will fail is because I end up making a mistake, often by overthinking about things. I'll stumble over my own words or be thinking about what to say next and end up having that ruin my sense of concentration on what I'm trying to say at the moment when I'm speaking. If there's anything that can go wrong, it's probably due to myself. It used to be easier when I was just starting out, but that was because I'd only just been starting out, and I didn't quite think as much about what I was saying. Now that I think a lot more about it, I actually find that it's more difficult to record. Doesn't make it any less enjoyable though, I still enjoy it immensely, and I like the videos that I make now just as much as I did when I was starting out, but I certainly think a lot more about what I'm going to say, and that's sometimes not great. For prospective Let's Players, are there any tips on how to cultivate a good voice or presentation for the audience? I get this question quite a few times, people asking for hints on how to start Let's Playing. And my advice is always the same. Be true to yourself. Be yourself, play the games that you want to play, how you want to play them. If you're happy with what you're making, it will show in the videos that you're creating, and you will get the audience that like what you do. Stay true to who you are, because only you can be you. You're the best at being you. I've yet to see somebody who can be better at being me than me, and if I find them, there's going to be some interesting conversations like, who are you, and why was I cloned? It probably isn't a conversation that's going to happen, but it might do, but it probably won't. So yes, be yourself, do what you like doing, and enjoy what you're doing, because ultimately, if you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? The next question is, how do you deal with YouTuber burnout? Well, I have suffered from this a couple of times. I remember that I did so very close to the beginning of my Let's Playing, and that's because I took on too much. I was doing 3 Let's Plays simultaneously, and uploading a lot of videos every day, and I pretty much burnt out very quickly. I had a full-time job, as well as doing all the recording, and I was just spending too much time doing it. And I stopped recording for a couple of months, I believe, and then I returned with a slightly reduced schedule. It happened a lot more recently, too. I remember... Ooh, have I got to shoo you away? Yes! Away with you! You won't go, but I tried. It happened more recently, I think around about the time that I was doing Golden Sun. I just had far too many Let's Plays going on. I believe I was doing 4 full Let's Plays all at once. It was just too much for me to handle, and I decided to scale back a bit to 3. I've now got the Hearthstone videos that effectively take up that 4th slot, but they're not the same as doing a 4th full Let's Play. I found out what typically gets me burnt out is that when I put a time limit on myself, it really adds an onus of stress and pressure. If I think to myself, I need to get like 5 videos recorded today, and I know this in the back of my mind, and normally that would be completely possible, but if I have that pressure, it will affect my recording, and that stress and worry will seep into what I'm doing and ultimately make me mess up. And if I have to do that consistently, week after week after week, that will eventually burn me out. I avoid that by making sure that I'm not putting too much pressure on myself in terms of the schedule, knowing that ultimately, me being well and not having that stress is more important than putting up the videos. I still manage to get the videos done, but my well-being is always the priority. Because if I'm not doing well because of my videos, it will show, and ultimately the only thing that I'm doing is making myself feel worse. Ultimately, this is meant to be something that I enjoy doing, and if I'm pushing myself to the point that I'm not enjoying it, you'll see it, I'll feel it, and burnout will likely happen. Hopefully that's helped. I know that everybody suffers burnout differently, but that's the way that I feel it and the way that I cope. Just recognizing that it's happening and scaling back things before it gets too serious. The next question is, what makes me LP older games over newer ones? Well, I certainly know what made me start doing that, and that was nostalgia. It's the whole reason I started Let's Playing after all. I did so to show people, oh, there's my daily dumb, to show people the games that I played in my youth that they may not have seen. And that's pretty much what I did for many years on my channel. Slowly it branched out into shorter games that I'd never played before, like when I did the Let's Play Quicklys, typically Mega Drive and Game Boy games, but mostly I was playing games that were nostalgic to me. These days that's less of the case because there's only so much nostalgia that you have. I still have a fair bit, but it's squirreled away on systems that I don't typically play as much on my channel, like the Amiga. Should probably get round to playing Amiga 500 games at some point, but anyway. I do still play newer games. Sometimes it's not as obvious because they're not as graphically intensive. Squidlet was quite a new game comparatively, and I also did videos on things like the Guild of Dungeoneering, and Armello, and some other newer games. But primarily I stick to older games now for a number of reasons. But first and foremost, there are some very interesting older games that people haven't heard of, myself included. Secondly, they tend to be easier to record and compress, and the videos tend to be smaller in size. Thirdly, it seems to be the niche that I've developed for myself, inadvertently by first starting with my nostalgia. I typically play older games, and people typically expect me to play older games. I do still play newer games whenever I want to. I don't limit myself to any specific time period when it comes to games, but I just end up playing older games anyway. It's just how it's ended up happening. I don't dislike that I play older games more often than newer games. It's just how it is. Do I ever plan on doing more modern titles that fit the channel vibe? This leads on from the previous question. The specific examples given are Cthulhu or RPG-ish games. I'll play newer games if I find one that interests me, although I typically play games that are very long. Like, for instance, I'm playing Baldur's Gate 2 and Deus Ex, the replay. Those games will still take quite a while to complete, and there's also Edna and Harvey. That game's not meant to be super long, but hey, we need to find a use for that paper cup, don't we? So, I typically don't get an opportunity to switch to different games too often. But when I do, new games are certainly things that are considered. They're not often picked, as I said before, because I typically end up playing older games, but I may end up playing newer ones? Who knows? Sometimes I surprise even myself. Are new people going through my older videos? Yes, new people do go through my older videos. I do sometimes see comments on very old videos from people whose names I don't recognize. Sometimes those comments aren't that great though. Some people don't realize that the videos are older and will make a comment about the fact that the audio and visual quality is terrible compared to videos that I put out, say, a few days ago. That's to be expected considering the fact that they're a lot older. But I do certainly get people going back and watching things that are a lot older, and I do like that. They're all there to be watched after all, and enjoyed. What LP did I most enjoy creating? Now, I enjoy creating pretty much all of the LPs that I've ever made, but there are a few that come to mind. I really enjoyed replaying Albion, for instance, and I really enjoyed playing through Phantasy Star 4. It was a game that I'd never experienced, and a game that took me completely by surprise. It's one of my favourite games now. That should tell you how much I enjoyed playing it. As for other things, I enjoyed doing the replay of XCOM UFO Defense, and I'm really enjoying playing Edna and Harvey right now, Edna and Harvey the Breakout specifically, a game that really caught me off guard with how much depth and detail it has in it, and how amusing it is. I'm really enjoying that one, looking forward to recording more of that next week in fact. Have you ever done a Let's Play of a game that was just a pain to finish for whatever reason? Daikatana. That should go without saying. The original PC version, not the Game Boy Color version. I quite like that one. I really disliked Daikatana, because it was just so frustratingly difficult and awkward to play, and when it crashed and wouldn't work anymore, I was so very happy about that. It gave me an excuse to go and play something else, and to this day, I have never returned to Daikatana, and likely never will. What happens at 10k videos or 100,000 subscribers? Well, I've no idea what happens at 10k videos. That is a long way in the future, and I'll be very happy if I reach that milestone. Probably another Q&A video, maybe a commemorative Let's Play, who can say? I'll be happy to do something though in celebration of it. As for 100,000 subscribers, I know what's going to happen for that. I'm going to replay Terror from the Deep. You heard it here first, folks. Get to 100,000 subscribers, and I will replay Terror from the Deep. And probably lose spectacularly at it, but I'll do it! I'll do it. There's an objective for you. How many times have you thought, why am I still doing this? Never. I really enjoy Let's Playing, and if I stopped enjoying Let's Playing, I'd stop doing it. I always find it enjoyable to do these videos, record them, upload them, see the comments, see people enjoying what I do. I don't necessarily enjoy the editing part. The editing part can be a bit tedious, but it's something that needs to be done. But never have I sat down and thought, why am I doing this? Even when it was really frustrating and a video was taking ages, I've never stopped to think that. Do you have any regrets regarding your YouTube activity? No. I like doing YouTube videos. I like doing Let's Plays. I like the fact that I've been doing it for all this time, that I'm planning to continue doing it in the future. I just really enjoy what I do. Do I have a contingency plan in case something terrible happens to YouTube, or if your channel is deleted? I do have every single video I've ever recorded on this computer, just in case something bad happens, and I have most of them on my previous computer as well. Just in case. You never know what could happen. If YouTube died tomorrow and never came back, I'd still have all the videos that I'd already done. I don't know where I put them up, or if I put them up somewhere. I do have a lot of them after all. This is a 7,000 video celebration Q&A after all. But I'd be able to at least think on doing something, as opposed to if I didn't have any of them. I know that YouTube has had severe ad revenue problems and adpocalypses, and also that you have a Patreon page, so my question is, have you ever been able to live off of YouTube? Yes and no. Ad revenue has certainly been better in the past, but as it stands right now, I'm managing. That's probably the best way to describe it. After I take out essential purchases, bills, food, toiletries, there's really not much money left over, and I make sure that I make it count. This is the reason why whenever I'm pondering any non-essential purchase, I think about it for a very, very long time, because I need to make my money last. The Patreon page is essential to keeping my schedule as it is. People that pledge make what I do possible, and allow me to upload so many videos, and do what I continue to enjoy doing, and what you continue to enjoy doing. I certainly wouldn't say no to more people pledging to the Patreon, but it is always the viewer's decision to do so. I put no pressure on anyone to pledge any money. There's no content hidden behind a paywall that's only accessible by pledging a certain amount. But the more money that gets pledged, the more I can dedicate towards putting up more videos. I do have the $800 milestone, where if I get to that amount every month, I will do extra content, be that another Let's Play, or maybe even some streaming, who knows? That's something to decide when I get to that milestone. And hey, if I get to $1,000, who knows what I could do? I most likely definitely do streaming at that point. Probably just on one night a week or something, but who can say? That would be amazing if that happened. But again, there's no pressure for anyone to pledge any money. If you don't know that I have a Patreon, or didn't rather because you've just heard about it, there's a link in the description. You can check it out there. After so many years and so many people appearing publicly on YouTube, are you ever going to record a video of yourself talking to the camera so we can see you? I have no plans to do such a thing. Why? Because I don't think it's important personally. A lot of people do decide to show their face and do go to things like conventions and are very public with details about their life. And I know that of late I have been a bit more public about certain things on Twitter, but one thing I'm not going to be doing is showing off my face, because ultimately, it doesn't matter. What I look like does not matter. What matters are the video games that I'm showing off and the videos that I record, and they don't need my face. I'm sorry to people who are hoping that they'll be able to see me at some point, but at present I have absolutely no plans to do a face reveal. If a developer wants to give me a copy of a game, what's the appropriate way to do so? Well, I'd suggest asking me first, because chances are, if I get a random email out the blue to my email that's on the About page about a game, I'm probably not going to do anything with it. I'm very picky as to what games I pay any attention to, and most of the time the emails that I get are generic copy-paste things, where the people haven't took any time to pay attention to what I do and how I do it. I occasionally get people going, "Hey, here's a game. Will you stream it?" And I think to myself, you haven't actually checked if I stream, have you? No. There have been a few instances where people have approached me, they have done research into what I do and what games I play, and then I've ended up doing videos on their stuff. I did a video on Lord Winklebottom Investigates, for instance, which is a very interesting looking point-and-click adventure game. And I also did videos on the Gibbous demo. I believe as a side point, the Gibbous game proper is going to be coming out pretty soon. I'm going to look forward to playing that. So with that in mind, if you want to talk to me about a game you're developing, contact me first, either sending an email or joining the Discord, link also in the description, and asking me there. Typically what I do if there's a game I am interested in is I'll usually buy it myself if I can afford it, and then do videos in my own time. Because I have a full schedule of Let's Plays typically, I don't have the space and time to be able to just spontaneously do a new series. And most people, when they send out an email asking for videos on stuff, they want it to be done exceptionally promptly, and that is just something I cannot do. So I apologize about that in advance. It's very likely that if you want me to do videos on a game, I'm not going to be able to, but if you show me something that I'm interested in, and have done research to know that I'd be interested in it, who knows? Maybe I'll buy the game and slot it in as my next Let's Play. Related to that, is there a wish list of yours if one wants to gift you a game? Best to ask me first, either in a comment, or sending an email, or on the Discord. I don't have a public wish list. Just ask me about a game, and I may say yes, I may say no, but bear in mind, if you do want to send me a game, I'm not going to promise that I'll ever Let's Play it. Such is my schedule of Let's Playing and how I pick games. I tend to pick a game at the time that I want to Let's Play. I don't have a schedule of, after I've done Baldur's Gate 2, I'll do this, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this. It's what takes my fancy at the time of picking. And I can never promise that it will be a game that somebody has gifted me. So keep that in mind if you're going to give me a game. Let's move on to merchandise. That is a question that has popped up a few times, and it's something I'm definitely intrigued about doing, but I wouldn't know exactly how to do it. I don't have any designs in mind, I don't know what I'd sell, I don't know if anybody would be especially interested in it, but hey, if people are interested in it, I could give it a go. I just have to find something to actually sell. Will my Cthulhu deck make a reappearance at some point? Now, this was a question that came out of nowhere, and I suppose I could show it off at some point. It's a wild deck at present, and it's one that I enjoy playing in Hearthstone. It has received a tweak or two throughout the many expansions that have come out since it went into wild. I may show it off. When will we see more Cthulhu/Goldhawk? Any more Paranoia, Traveller, or Burning Wheel? We'll answer the second part of the question first. It's not likely we're going to see any more Traveller, and it's very unlikely we'll see any more Burning Wheel. I was a player in Burning Wheel rather than the person running it, and I don't think the person that ran the Burning Wheel campaign is planning on doing another one anytime soon. As for Traveller, not especially likely. I wouldn't hold out much hope for that. Paranoia? Who can say? It can be run pretty much on the fly. I don't have any plans to do so right now, but it could be. As for seeing more Cthulhu/Goldhawk, Cthulhu depends on everyone being available, and of late one of my players has been literally on the other side of the world. It's not possible for them to be further away than where they were. That person has now come back from there, so I am trying to arrange another session of Cthulhu. If it happens or not in the near future, we'll see, but I hope so. As for Goldhawk, you know the drill. Next Karazhan week. I don't know when that'll be. Whenever we find time to do it. Speaking of Halloween, will I be doing a co-op LP with Halloween before he retires? I don't know. Maybe. If something comes up, we may. I don't have any specific plans to do so. And finally, can you talk Halloween out of retiring? No. It is Halloween 4545's decision to do what he's doing, and I cannot talk him out of it, nor would I want to. It's his choice, and I respect his decision. He may end up changing his mind closer to the time, but whatever he does, I will support him and respect his choice. And if that's retiring, so be it. Nothing lasts forever after all. Even the pyramids will crumble to dust in time. The next section of questions is about gaming in general. And we'll start with, what's the first gaming system you ever played? I was told by my father that they had an Atari 2600 when I was really young, talking about 2 or 3. I highly doubt that I played it, however. My first memories of gaming are on the Amiga 500, and then later on the Game Boy and the NES. Have I ever owned an Amiga computer? Yes, I have! If so, what is your favourite game from it? We had an Amiga 500, one that my dad sold later on for £20, and then regretted later in the future. Such is the way of getting rid of things that you think you don't want at the time, but then much later go, oh, if only I had that thing. But that is how things are. We did have an Amiga 500, and one of my favourite games on it was the Chaos Engine. I also really liked Pac-Mania and Typhoon Thompson. Now there's a game that you don't see much of these days. Maybe someday I'll go and do a video on Typhoon Thompson. The Chaos Engine is a game I really enjoy. In fact, the Bitmap Brothers are a developer that I really like the games of in general. Maybe I should do more of them at some point too. What's my favourite game? I get asked this a fair few times, and I can never give a single game answer. I like lots and lots of games. I like the Lands of Lore series, I like Albion, I like Stonekeep, Realms of the Haunting, Zed, Command & Conquer, Phantasy Star 4, Mystic Quest. There is a huge list of them. If you check my Let's Plays playlists, you'll probably find most of them. I just can't pick a single one, and I'm sorry if that's what you were expecting, but I just can't. What's my favourite Final Fantasy game? That is a little easier. I really like Final Fantasy IX. I don't know why, but Final Fantasy IX struck a chord with me when I played it, and it is one of my favourite, if not the favourite, Final Fantasy game. Though it does compete with Mystic Quest, which technically isn't in the main Final Fantasy series, but I really like that game as well. I'd probably say that they're both equal favourites for me. What Battletech Universe video game is my favourite? I haven't really played many of them, so I'd have to go with the only one I've really played, which is MechWarrior 2. I did play a lot of MechWarrior 2 when I was younger. I haven't been able to get it working of late. If I could, I'd be a really happy person. But I'll stick with my memories for now. Is there a game you own that you hate? There are quite a lot of games I own that I really dislike. Such is the nature of being a Let's Player. I end up picking up games as I go around places and as sales go on, and some of them are absolutely awful. I do own Barney's Hide and Seek. Just keep that in mind. Is there a game you like from a genre you generally dislike? I like Command & Conquer a lot, and I really don't like real-time strategy games. The same goes for Zed. Really like Zed. Don't really like RTS games, and thinking back to games I own that I hate, there are games that I bought that I ended up really disliking. And one of them, in fact the one that came to mind just now, which is why I've gone back to it, Descent to Undermountain. Really dislike that game. I picked it up thinking, ooh, a role-playing game in the Forgotten Realms universe. How can this be terrible? Oh, it was terrible. Really bad. I'm not surprised that not many people have fond memories of that one. It's not good. Don't play it. You can die on ladders, even when you're a fighter. Ladders should not deal 11 points of damage to you when you fall about 3 feet. They really shouldn't. What's your favourite games in different narrative genres? Fantasy, horror, sci-fi, urban fantasy, crime and war. Well, fantasy, you've got things like the Lands of Lore series. I really like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Horror, a little bit difficult because I don't generally like the horror genre. But I suppose you could put Realms of the Haunting in there. It's got sort of horror motifs. Sci-fi, Albion fits in there quite nicely. I do like that. I like Whale's Voyage a lot as well. And I also like Deus Ex as well. That's a really, I suppose you could class that as sci-fi. Maybe near future sci-fi, dystopian, sort of works. Urban fantasy, couldn't tell you. I don't think that's a genre I really play at all. I may be wrong, and I may not know what games are classed as urban fantasy, but nothing comes to mind. And crime, probably the only thing is I really enjoyed playing Payday 2. Really like playing that. I played a lot of it back in the day. I don't want to think about how many hours Steam will tell me that I played that game for. It's a lot. Excited about Baldur's Gate 3? When the trailer for this game was released, I got a lot of questions from people asking me about Baldur's Gate 3. I watched the trailer. It does look like a pretty neat trailer, but I really don't have enough information to make a decision about if I will enjoy Baldur's Gate 3 or not. I really need to see the game in action and know a bit more about the plot before I make that judgment call. And even if I decide that it looks interesting from what I see and read, that's different to playing the game. I may think it looks neat and end up not enjoying it, or I may think it doesn't look neat and end up enjoying it. In general, I'm reserving my judgment until I get a lot more information. After all, it's very easy to make a cinematic trailer look awesome.